So I was just notified by the post office that our 2 package bees have arrived, which means now we need to get ready and set up the hives so I can pick them up and transfer them into the hives. And so in this video I'm going to show you what we do, how we prepare, why we do things we do in a certain way, and what I maybe could have done better. Like, I didn't want to set up the hives too early because otherwise stuff would move potentially into the hives, like critters and insects and stuff. I didn't want to do that, so I didn't have everything set up ahead of time, which I normally do with the chickens. But I guess I could have at least prepared the boxes so I don't have to dig through the basement for all the individual hive components. But let's go down, let's grab that stuff, and we set everything up, pick up the bees and transfer them into their new home. So let's do it. All right, so what do we need to pick now is we're gonna set up 2 hives, and we need obviously the foundation, we need the brood chambers. We actually have a bunch of boxes, including in here, I think. Yep. That are full of honey. So we're gonna give them that so that we don't have to feed sugar water. I like that. So we can give them food from the get-go. And I think we're gonna give them 2 boxes full of honey and then a 3rd box where they can, hatch the young and start laying eggs at some point. So let's do it. All right, so I realized I only have 2 boxes that are full of honey, so they're gonna get that. And then they're gonna get 2 empty boxes. They have partial drawn frames, so they can save a little bit of time. And with that, we're gonna head out. All right, one thing that I should have done before is take out that 1 box out of the freezer, because it was in the freezer, to kill everything from the last hive. I should have taken that out because right now they basically have a frozen box of honey, which is not very helpful. I don't know that the temperature is necessarily going to be an issue because it's warm. It's like 70s or so here. But I think what I'm going to do is, just so they have access to actual honey, unfrozen honey, I'm going to swap the frames a little bit, leave some of the frozen ones in the box, but also give them some room temperature ones. So both hives have a couple of frames that are still frozen and the other half are not. So I think that's going to be good enough. Fingers crossed. And so yeah, let's do that. All right, the last thing we're going to do is, before we head out and grab the bees, is we're going to pour oil. The only reason why we have vegetable oil at home, because we can pour it here on the back into those trays, and so when beetles or other small critters get in through the hive entrance, they fall through the mesh wire into the oil, and that has significantly reduced our hive beetle problem without having to use any chemicals. So that's what we do, and then every month I check on the oil. If it's completely nasty, I'll replace it. And again, it's really the only reason you should have vegetable oil at home. Terrible for cooking, terrible for human health, terrible for hive beetle health as well, and that's why we use it. All right, let's pick up the bees, Ruby, shall we? All right, got the bees. Let's go home and move them to their new home. What if they escape? I would be having a bad day, so let's hope they won't. All right, let's suit up, because I have a feeling they might be slightly upset for being in a box during shipping. So what we have here is we have 3 pounds worth of bees per box, and inside, you're gonna see it here in a little bit, there is a container with sugar syrup. So they had food during transport, And then there's going to be a small box, almost like a little, box for matches, even smaller, that has the queen encaged, and the opening to the little box, I'm going to show you that in a second, is closed with sugar basically. So the bees need some time to chew through the sugar to release the queen, and that's useful because I can just grab the little box and put it inside the hive and then wait 2 or 3 days for the queen to escape and start doing its thing. And that is useful for 2 reasons, or for a couple of reasons. One is the bees that are in here, the worker bees, are likely not from the same hive that the queen came from. The queen was probably raised separately, and so they get used to the queen. Number one, they don't kill her, there's a risk for that. The second thing is the queen cannot simply fly off, so I would not necessarily recommend to releasing her immediately. Put the thing on there into the hive and let them free the queen. So the queen is for sure in there. I once released her early, and then she, took off, and I kind of had to, try to get her back in. Doesn't really, that's not helpful. And so we're going to do that, transfer them over, and then we just leave the empty boxes on top of the hive. So the rest of the bees will follow the queen's pheromones and get into the hive automatically. It's going to rain later today, so we have to hustle a little bit. And what I usually do is I set the queen up here and then just lower her down so she is secure. And I usually take out a second frame there as well, so I have room to pour in the bees. Alright, and what we have here now is a tab that we can just use to pull out. Well, that's where the queen is attached, and then this guy here is the sugar syrup. I'll just put it here for now. And this is the queen. So this tab, or this little box here, we can leave the tab on for now, it doesn't really matter. But we'll place this on here. So now the queen is in. I'm gonna remove here another frame here, so we really have 2 frames, two frame wide opening, so to say, where we can pour our bees in. Alright, so we got most of those bees in here. I don't think they enjoy the shaking very much, but doesn't really open anymore, but it's fine. I'm just gonna shake the rest of them in if we can. And the rest will then follow. We just leave that here on top or here on the side, and they'll figure it out. Try to lower this in as carefully as possible so we don't smush any bees, or as few as possible, which is not always easy. Some people don't care, which, you're gonna smush some bees eventually. There's no way around it. But if we can do this with as few casualties as possible, that's probably a good thing. All right, number 1 is done. Now we're gonna rinse and repeat. All right, everyone is in. We're gonna leave those boxes on top here because they will fly in eventually. It's gonna rain in a couple of hours. By then, I'm hoping that most of them have made their way in. And then in, I wanna say 2 to 3 days, let's give it 3 days, I'm gonna check and see if the queen has been released. If I can maybe find it, I'm not going to dig around too much, but just to make sure she has at least been released and everything looks good. And then I'm going to leave them alone for probably a good week or so before checking back in and see if there is anything that I see that might be off. In many cases there might not be a whole lot to, that we can do anyway, but at least so I'm aware of. and then we're just gonna start our regular cycle. Now that they have honey already in those lower brood chambers, I don't need to feed them. I really like that. If we had empty boxes, we would be feeding them from the get-go, and we typically put a deep super on top with an upside down mason jar which has holes poked into the metal lid, so we can feed them without necessarily encouraging robbing, so that others, other bees, other insects cannot get to the sugar syrup. Now that we don't need to feed them, we're not going to do that, obviously. We're just going to let them be and see if they start bringing in pollen and honey. I mean, right now it's raining, but it's it's April as of this recording, end of April, so there's still nectar flow, there is still food to find, and yeah, that's how we typically onboard new bees. And the food, by the way, we're not going to leave there because that's just going to attract potentially other bees. So all right, so it's been 4 days since I installed the 2 packages, and it's time to check on the queen if she's been released. Technically what I did is, or what I forgot, is to remove that little cork plug, and it occurred to me after I finished with the video, so, well, actually the day after. So I removed that cork plug, and from that time it's been 3 days. We're gonna check if the queen has been released. If not, we're gonna help it a little bit by poking into the sugar plug to help her get out quicker, and then we should be good. So let's check that out and see what we got. Seems like most of the bees have moved downstairs already. I mean, that's where the food is, so unsurprisingly, I would say. Yes, the queen is out, which means we can remove this guy, and that's probably also why everyone is down here. I guess the queen has moved downstairs into her new quarters. And so we'll take this guy off. Oh no, the queen's still in there. Even though there are already bees in there, it's all partially open. But she has not figured out how to get out yet, so you can see that here. So here is the opening. I mean, she is about to be able to get out. It's almost open, so we're gonna put it back in, and in the next day or two, I guess in 2 days, I'm gonna check again just to leave him enough room not to disturb them too often. So we'll put this back here. Alright, no problem. Gonna give them a little bit more time, and we'll check on the other one. They're a little bit more active up here compared to the other ones. Also a little bit more angry. And it seems like the queen's out here already, which might explain the different behavior. There are a couple of dead bees in there, but none looks like the queen. I'm not gonna go and dig for the queen, but I'm gonna make sure here the queen is not among the dead one. Those are all worker bees. Alright, so 1 released, 1 to go. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to share with someone who might benefit from it, share, please do so. Like, subscribe, stick around, and we'll see you in the next video.